What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm actually going to be playing Need for Speed Heat. I do know this game obviously came out like 5 years ago in like 2019 or something like that, but I was like, you know what? I was playing Need for Speed Payback 2015, so why not jump onto Heat and see some of the positives and negatives this game also had to offer. If you guys are wondering, by the way, I never actually played Heat back in the day when it did come out. Which, to be honest, I'm actually regretting that a bit because I've been having such a blast on this game, my goodness. I love the way the game's designed. I love the campaign style of it. I like the nighttime and daytime, the amount of vehicles, the engine swapping. It's just a great time overall. I love it. Now, there is one thing I did want to touch on. So, obviously, playing this game in 2024, a few of the big positives is, for one, I love the way the cars sound. My goodness, Need for Speed kills the car sounds, man. They really do. Also, not sure how you guys think about this, but I do love the actual Palm City map. I am going to be making a few videos about that, including a DLC that could have happened, which I really do think it should have. But nonetheless, though, also talking about this game, guys, I feel like the nighttime is also one of my favorites. The reason why I do say that is when thinking about Need for Speed Unbound back in the day, which obviously, don't get me wrong, I do know that's the current Need for Speed game. It's also being updated until the end of the year, and it could also be updated till the end of next year if like the next Need for Speed game comes out at 2026 is my guess. But in Need for Speed Heat, though, one thing I really liked about it, guys, is yes, you can obviously grind money pretty quick. You can also jump into nighttime and go into there and actually get rep, mess around with police, and it's not going to be kind of awfully designed like the way Unbound is. Now, hear me out for a second because I do know some people are going to be like, well, Blocked, what do you mean Unbound isn't that good? For one, guys, I have to admit right now, farming money in Unbound, at least on single player, is an absolute nightmare. For one, doing events on regular single player is going to be completely random, and you also don't know how much money you can make because you have to spend 30 to 40 grand to get into some of the higher events, which I would say doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, in Need for Speed Heat, you can actually make $70,000 in a single event, so you can actually stack around 3 to 400, even like a half a million pretty quick. And on top of that, I was actually making around $1.2 million in a single session, going through a few of the events, like doing them twice and also grinding them out. And it really wasn't that bad, man. While on Unbound, you are legit not going to make barely any money whatsoever, even if the entire thing has good events like, RNG'd into there. Now, the best thing about Heat, though, is at least you can make as much money as you possibly can. You can even go into nighttime, grind out some parts and stuff like that, and get money from the events. And then, of course, go back to your garage, go back into daytime, stack a bunch of money, go after some cars and, like, different builds you're actually going after. Whereas in Unbound, you're most likely going to be here for an insanely long time. Like, not even kidding. On a good day, I think you can make around 600 grand, maybe, if every single event is like legit perfect, guys. It's honestly pretty awful the way they did it. And jumping back into Need for Speed Heat here in 2024, I'm like, my goodness, man, it was so good. They legit went backwards. Why did they actually design the campaign like that? And also, Need for Speed Unbound, the campaign and the multiplayer is separate. My goodness, I don't know why they did that either. I do understand they wanted to make it like different from like the single player, but at least players can go on to single player and Heat and most likely grind out money and stuff like that, buy a car they want, and then right after that, though, you can immediately jump on to multiplayer and drive around and do races and stuff with your friends. Whereas in something like Unbound, you have to jump on there, grind out events, make money, do challenges, unlock some vehicles, and obviously take an entirely different approach to it. Now, I have been playing Need for Speed Heat for around, let's say, about 3 weeks now. I've been loving this game, guys. It really is so much dang fun to actually play it. I'm not even going to lie here. I'm having way more fun in Heat than I did in Unbound, which I would probably say many players might agree with. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments on that. But there's one thing I have to say right now, guys. I love Heat, but the campaign in Heat, guys, was way too short. Now, I do have a feeling by playing it, they most likely cut a lot of stuff out of it. At least that's what I think. I mean, playing through it, you easily could see they probably could have had it to be a lot longer than it was. Funnily enough, I actually played through the campaign of Heat, at least, grinding out events and doing stuff like that, making money and buying some cars. I did end up completing the entire campaign in a car I shouldn't have, which was a Ferrari 488 Pista, because I did all the regular challenges. I also did end up, like, maxing out some of my cars, buying, like, the forged engines for them. I had a lot of money, so I was like, you know what, let me do it. Let me fly through the campaign, guys. I legit played through each chapter. I finished a chapter, and I was like, wait a second, that's it? Did another chapter, and I was like, yo, that was only a few events or like a few different like cutscenes. Played the final chapter, and I was like, yo, I legit beat this entire campaign in maybe 5 hours, not even. If you didn't grind out everything and obviously have like a ton of fast cars or, maxed out stuff, it could take a bit longer. But doing like these side things like the off-road one or like the racer one or whatever, those are pretty fun. But again, guys, I feel like the campaign was a bit short, which might have ruined it for some people. Let me know your thoughts on that. And the reason why I do want to mention this, though, is I do feel like that's going to be a big part of a racing game. Don't get me wrong, I do know once you actually beat the campaign or you get everything done, you obviously want to race around, get some dope cars. That's going to be a big part of it. But I was like, you know what, after beating the campaign, let me jump onto like Reddit and some other forums. What does everybody else think about it? It does turn out, guys, a lot of players also agreed that the short campaign kind of ruined the game for them. Even though I'm going to say this right now, Heat is insanely fun, even better than Unbound in some ways. Don't get me wrong, Unbound and Heat have like their own positives and negatives to them. But I do feel like a lot of players did get a bit stumped by the entire like short campaign of Need for Speed Heat, to where I feel like if it was a bit longer and maybe thought out a bit more with it, I really do feel like a lot more players would have enjoyed it, also played the game more than they actually did. Which I really do feel like, guys, playing the campaign, you can easily tell right away that they most likely cut parts of it out, or they were like, you know what, let's leave this out of it. Let's keep it really short and probably nothing insane. Like, they could have easily had like an entire part of like that girl being like undercover, or maybe she was bad, you had to like join like an entire like drug cartel thing or something to help like bust her, or go undercover to maybe bring her down. Could have been like Fast and Furious or something. That would have been dope. So you probably had to like run that stuff in the cars, or you had to like be with her and do some crazy stuff. Like, they easily could have extended it, and they most likely would have probably had a lot more players on Heat for a longer period of time in it. Now, I would also like to know what you guys think about that. Do you also think the short campaign in Heat might have hurt it a bit? I do feel like in some ways a lot of players might end up jumping on this, like completing that, and then going, wait a second, that's it? Like, I was seeing on Reddit and stuff, some people mentioning that, doing the entire campaign and getting it done that quick kind of killed the entire motivation for them to go after different cars or unlock different stuff, because after that's done, the only thing you can actually do after that is most likely do some nighttime events, or jump on a daytime, make some money, do some races with people, which, don't get me wrong, that can be insanely fun. Not gonna lie here, guys, not sure how anyone's going to take this in the comments, but my favorite Need for Speed multiplayer, even to this day, is still going to be Most Wanted 2012. Now, I do know a lot of players are going to be like, well, hold on a second, Block, that Need for Speed was awful. Don't get me wrong, I do know the game had its negatives and stuff, which, funnily enough, we do know every single game nowadays have some great positives to them. But on the other side of that, you also have to look at some of the negatives, and hopefully the newer games can build upon that, not go backwards. Kind of like having the entire single player and multiplayer separate and Unbound, and you also have to buy into the events. Isn't it crazy, guys, how the best event Unbound pays around $80,000 in it, but you have to spend around 35 grand to get into the event? So stacking money into that game is probably not going to be the easiest thing ever that you can do. Whereas something like Need for Speed Heat, even now you can actually get 75 grand from a single event, which takes around 3 to 4 minutes at most, so it's actually pretty dang quick. And that way you can actually stack money, buy cars, and have a great time in the game, instead of hoping you actually make enough to buy a hypercar, which is insane. But besides all that, though, guys, I have to admit right now, playing Need for Speed Heat, despite the campaign having a lot of mixed opinions and stuff, which, to be honest, I can see both sides of that, man, I really can. Having it being really short probably does kill the motivation for players to actually jump in and play it. And on top of that, you were probably hoping for more because there was so much more potential with the actual campaign, to where you can easily see they most likely cut that short, which I would say is unfortunate. But besides all that, though, guys, I would like to know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Do let me know some of your favorite positives and negatives with Need for Speed Heat, and do stay tuned for a lot more content coming on this game, because even though that campaign was short, I am still having such a great time playing this game, and I would even say to this point, a lot of players are most likely enjoying Need for Speed Heat more than other racing games and other Need for Speed games, which is kind of insane. But again, guys, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. And recently, I did end up jumping back on a Drive Club, which I have to admit right now was pretty dang insane playing that game 9 years later. If you are interested in checking out the weather and that game in 2024, those videos will be on your screen.